Edition of Green Detroit Now. I'm your host, Mr. Clyde Shabazz, and we are the Michigan Green Party, and we're here every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on TV 33 WHPR. And we want to welcome you tonight, and along with a couple of wonderful hosts with me. And again, as my host, or as my guest, excuse me, tonight I have a gentleman to my right here, which is Abayomi Azikiwe and Ms. Sandra Hines from the Moratorium Now Coalition to Stop Foreclosures and Evictions. And welcome, both of you.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you, Detroit, for having us into your home for another week. And we want to jump right into the conversation tonight and talk about some of the issues that are affecting Detroit and some of the things that we need to do to correct some of these issues. But before we do, I want to give you a little backdrop and background about my guest here. And this gentleman here has been a writer that I've known for, what, close to 25 years now, sir?
Yes, at least.
Okay, and he publishes a journal, and I remember it was a print journal about 25 years ago, the Pan-African or Pambana Journal, but now it's the Pan-African Newswire, and you have a website and the like. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, briefly, I've been an independent journalist now for probably about 30 years since I was a graduate student at Wayne State University, and in 1984, I started Pambana Journal, which is a Kiswahili word that means struggle. And when the internet became a critical mass, beginning in the mid-1990s, we switched, converted that is,
Beautiful,
to online publication. Now it's the Pan-African Newswire, and it's the promoted as the world's only international daily Pan-African news source.
So you basically use the power of technology to propagate the ideas and the like and the things that we as African consumers need to feed our minds with information.
That's what's so great about the World Wide Web, is that now ordinary people like us can be on the same level as the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Financial Times.
I totally agree.
You know, our blogs, our articles can be posted right next to those from the Wall Street Journal and the United Press International, Associated Press, Reuters, and so forth.
I agree. For our Detroit viewing audience, could you just very slowly read the name of the Newswire and just give the website real slow one time again?
It's the Pan-African Newswire. The URL is panafricannews.blogspot.com. That's panafricannews.blogspot.com.
Okay, very good. Also, over here is a beautiful young lady here who's also a colleague of yours and an organizer, Miss Sandra Hines. And how are you this evening?
I'm doing great.
Okay, you want to say hi to Detroiters out there? Anybody particular?
Well, I'm always happy to say hi to Detroit. I love Detroit. It's my hometown. And I'm really here so we can tell about this great event that's coming up, the Moratorium Now Coalition's People Summit.
All right, very good. And we're going to jump right into that. And that's coming up. It's called the National People's Summit in Tent City, which is June 14th through the 17th at Grand Circus Park. That's at in downtown Detroit at Woodward and Adams. And you have a website as well, is that correct?
Most definitely. It's peoplesummit.org.
And is there a telephone number where if folks who want to participate in this event where they can contact you at?
You can contact us at area code 313-887-4344. That's 313-887-4344.
Okay, very good. Now, we've got that out the way, and we'll announce it again shortly. And Sandra, I want to talk with you because you seem eager to jump right into it. Let's talk about the National People's Summit in Tent City. What's the purpose and what's the objective?
Well, it was born out of the Moratorium Now Coalition's efforts to address foreclosure and eviction. And as a result of the many successes that we've had in order to help people save their homes, we had a state rights conference. And out of the state rights conference grew a desire and a thirst to fight back the bailout of the banks and not the people. And so we decided that we needed to organize this summit from people all over the United States, because a lot of them had come to our state statewide conference. We've been going to other cities and states promoting a moratorium, which is a 2-year halt on all foreclosures and evictions. And it kind of just grew and grew, where people are willing now to come together and begin to fight back and to demand that we the people are bailed out instead of the banks.
Very good. Let me just interject here, and so you can correct me if I'm wrong. So, sort of like we have the social forum summit that's coming in, and we'll talk about that in the second half of the program. So this again, Detroit is leading the way in a national movement of people or grassroots folks in trying to address grassroots issues. So this will be a national summit. This isn't just a Michigan-based summit. Is that correct?
Most definitely. This was called in response to the National Business Summit, which initially was scheduled to be held at Ford Field between June 15th and 17th. It's sponsored by the Detroit Economic Club. Well, if you know anything about the Detroit Economic Club, it's composed of the corporate entities, the financial entities, who are largely the movers and shakers in metropolitan Detroit, throughout the country and throughout the world. Well, we know those same people who are going to be organizing the National Business Summit are the people who are actually responsible for the economic crisis that we find ourselves in today, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. So the People's Summit was set up to counteract the National Business Summit. And interestingly enough, they've changed the name from the National Business Summit to the National Summit. And the summit has been moved from Ford Field to the Renaissance Center at the Marriott International Hotel. So we'll be gathering at Grand Circus Park starting on June the 14th, and we'll have demonstrations and rallies and cultural presentations and workshops every day between the 14th and the 17th of June.
Well, that was my next question. I was going to ask both of you. So I imagine there is going to be some direct actions and the like, and to get the message out that the people are not happy with the way the financial system, the elected national officials have been taking a corporate first, people zero approach to dealing with issues like foreclosures and the like. Would you both agree with that?
Yeah, a lot of the people didn't even understand what was going on as it related to all these foreclosures and evictions. It took people by surprise and by storm, and it was a trick that the banks used when they gave these adjustable loans and these predatory lending loans to people whose house notes went from affordable, where they were able to pay, to being astronomical, where they weren't able to pay, and ultimately the people lost their homes. I'm a victim myself of foreclosure and evictions, and the one thing about this People's Summit that I really want people to understand is that it's people who have actually lost their homes.
Real people.
Fighting back. This is not politicians that have trumped this summit up. This is the real people. The people saying to the government, we want relief. We're tired of them bailing out the very people that got us in the shape that we're in right now, and we want relief. And we're fighting back, and we're asking that all of the people in the city of Detroit make this event so that we can send a real clear message that we're not giving up until they deal with us on the terms of how we feel we should be dealt with as citizens of the United States of America.
Very good point. Let me ask you this, Abayomi. What are one or some of the goals that are hoped to be achieved by having this National People's Summit in Tent City that people in Detroit and nationally can walk away from to try to build on the momentum that surely will come from this particular event?
Well, the overall objective is to build a people's movement, a people's fight back movement, because we've elected a lot of politicians to office over the last 3 years who have made a number of promises to people not only in Detroit but all over the country. They've promised to end the war. They promised to address the unemployment crisis. They promised to address the housing crisis. They promised to address the fact that 50 million people in the United States do not have health insurance. None of these issues have been addressed by the current Congress or the administration in Washington. So we recognize it's going to take the people, those working class people, those poor people who are losing their jobs, who are losing their health care, whose pension funds have been destroyed. They have to organize independently, develop their own program, and then build a nationwide people's movement to actually put forward a series of demands. Two of the demands that we're asking for immediately, of course, is a moratorium on all foreclosures and evictions, and secondly, the development of a real jobs program to create 20 million jobs for the unemployed and the underemployed in the United States immediately. These are our two principal demands that we're pushing at this point.
Very good. And I'm looking forward to this summit happening, because this is the type of energy, Detroit, that you are going to have to get involved with to take your city back. I mean, you're reading every day about how your school board, your local elected officials, they've gotten in bed. The same thing with the state and the federal officials. There's not going to be change until you get involved and to make the change happen.